As always, if this is your first time on my YouTube channel, to view the HSE dashboard, I would highly recommend that you view the dashboard introduction video first, and then this video will make a lot more sense. Otherwise, welcome back. Today we are going to look at completing the safety observation card entry form. Common features of all the forms, the various control buttons in the forms. And finally, we will also look at the results of submitting the form, leading to the dashboards affected. As always, we will start from the navigation view. So we have seen how easy it was to update the man-hours and incident register forms. Now let us see how easy it is for the safety observation card. The third row from the top of column 1 in the navigation view resides the safety observation card entry form. Simply click on it and the form will appear. If need be, we'll zoom in the view for demonstration purposes to see the validation drop-down lists more clearly. The person normally inputting data will have the benefit of a real safety observation card to extract the data, but we will just make something up as we go along as always, for demonstration purposes. The register number is the same process as the man-hours and incident register. The last register ID shown at the top of the form is 132, therefore our entry will be 133. Reported by field, indicate who has submitted the card, indicate anonymous if no name provided. The date, press the corresponding date outlined on the safety observation card in the calendar. Month and year cells, again use the validation drop-down lists. The site, yes you've guessed it, use the validation drop-down list. Let's say site A, where the card originated for our demo. In the positive or negative field, using the validation drop list, let's say, negative in this instance. The card evaluation field is where we have to make a significant selection. Opening up the drop-down list you can see the following selection options: reported unsafe condition, reported unsafe act, improvement suggestion, valid complaint, trivial or irrelevant, inquiry, reported policy infringement, near miss, and if we scroll down, reported good practice observed. Now this is obviously a judgment call, and bear in mind the person usually completing this would normally have the benefit of an actual safety observation card to work with, so we will leave this section for now and come back to it. Applicable location field, using the drop-down list, indicated which site the issue on the card is referring to. It could be both in some circumstances. Next, the card source field, using the drop-down list, we will indicate the shop floor in our demo. In the safety observation card details field, we simply indicate what is on the observation card. I'll paste the following to save time. Observed Mickey Mouse lifting steel fabrication directly over shop floor personnel's heads. Now that we have something tangible to make a judgment call with, let's go back to the card evaluation field and select from the drop-down list. It's fairly obvious now that the selection is unsafe act. But from my experience viewing hundreds of these, there are lots of occasions when either or is the case. The important aspect here is that justification is available for whatever the selection might be. Moving on to action taken, recommended field, we simply outline what course of action is required or been taken. In our case we'll say, issue investigated, carding to be accurate, formal warning issued to the offender. For those of you whose company have audit trails to consider, because of management standards certification, i.e., ISO 45001, you could consider raising an NCR corrective action with the cross-reference to the observation card register number, which is 133, a direct reference to this entry, as a follow-through process at this point. The next field, action person, who has completed, or who is going to complete the action. The status field, if the action has been completed, we can indicate closed from the drop-down list. If the action is yet to be done, indicate open. In our case we will indicate closed. There is one other selection that can be made, parked for future reference. While many safety observation cards that are received offer very little choice from a management perspective, other than to deal with them directly, as is the case in our demonstration. There will be instances, particularly if the card relates to a suggestion, when the management can decide if it wishes to proceed with an action or not. In these cases, merely indicate parked for future reference, until a definitive decision is available. If management indicate the suggestion is not going to be followed through with, close the card as normal in the status field. And that is it. We can now press the blue Submit Incident Record button. When we see the form clear and get a success indication from Excel, we can go back to the navigation view and see the result of the labor exerted. Let's check the observation card register first. What do we see? Entry 133 we have just made is on the register. Now let's check our Dashboard 7 to see what effect it has had on the leading indicator safety observation card chart. Reported unsafe act is showing 3 cards received that have been assigned with the same unsafe act classification. Okay, let's go back and modify the form, shall we? Let's update our last entry 133, and now indicate that the card is still open. Let's click the dark green Fired Record button. Input our required record number, and indicate OK. And now let's change the status from closed to open when our record appears. Press the blue Submit Record button. Go back to Dashboard 7. What do we see? We are now getting a showing of 1 observation card still open. Okay, let's go back to the observation card form one more time. Let's call up record 133 again. Just assume that we were only checking the data in the form this time, but we don't want to amend it in any way. What do we do in those circumstances? We can resubmit the data and the form will clear. Nothing will change as we have not made any changes. Alternatively, you can just clear the form, using the light green button. This is even more useful, if we get see half of the form completed, and then we cannot continue. The clear form button will not result in any subsequent errors being reported if we try to submit the form. For example, let's open record 133 one more time. Now let's demonstrate what happens if you try to submit the form, when you have not completed all the fields. If we just update the register number to 134, Excel will assume it's a new record. Then if we empty 1 or 2 fields for demo purposes, and press the blue Submit button, Excel indicates that we have errors and won't submit the data to the register. All the fields that are empty will change color as shown. There's no cause for concern. Simply address the empty fields and resubmit the data. Your record will be submitted as normal. The developer has been working in HSE management for more than 20 years on both large and small engineering projects, and in a number of industrial sectors. He is a qualified lead auditor in both the ISO 9001 and OSHAS 18001 management standards. and has a comprehensive knowledge of both the recent ISO 45001 and 14001 standards. The development of the HSE dashboard came about whilst approaching retirement and time to pursue a more in-depth understanding of Microsoft Excel. He now wants to embark on a new endeavor to provide smaller organizations with a means to record and communicate HSE data more effectively.